Hey guys, CephalonKet here. So in this video, I want to talk about Tower of Fantasy, an MMO that just came out from the same developers as Genshin Impact. So I played it for a couple of days now. I'm on day 3, I believe. And I also streamed it for a few hours. So I think it's a good opportunity to make a first impressions video, just to talk in general about my initial impressions on the game and things like that. So when I streamed it, we went through the character creator, which was very fun. I really like that they have added a character creator, though it is, a tiny bit limited. It's in the anime style, but even so, it is still has some limits. Particularly, I found myself being unable to make a male character that I like, so I ended up with this adorable character that I made, and I'm happy with her. But yeah, they could still improve it. So first of all, the general impression is good, right? And right away, we cannot really talk about Tower of Fantasy without comparing it to Genshin Impact. So whoever says it doesn't really, it's not like Genshin Impact, I think it's perhaps willful ignorance, because it is basically an MMO Genshin Impact. The similarities are countless. So basically, if you like Genshin Impact, you will love this. Especially if you're like me, I adore that I now can play as my player character all the time if I choose. So while it is like Genshin Impact, it does have some improvements and some differences to the formula. And for example, what I really like is that now you can still get characters, right? There's still the gacha system, but the characters you basically get them for their weapons. And those weapons you can equip to your player character instead of using the character they dropped with. So you can either, if you want, if you got a character that's really cool, you can use them with their weapon, or you can just take the weapon and use it on your player avatar, which is what I do 95% of the time. And I really love this system because with the voice acting and especially the combat sounds, it's a very hit and miss. So I haven't found a character that I enjoy listening to yet. And the player characters, their voices are very neutral, so it's better in my personal experience to have them use the weapons. The only downside is that while actually it's not a downside. So the cool thing is that unlike Genshin Impact, your player character talks in cutscenes now, which is a nice change, and it's something you don't see often in MMOs, with Sotor being the giant exception, of course. But despite this, and because of this, I would have liked if in the character creator they had perhaps added a pitch slider, so with the same voice acting and voice actor, to just change the pitch to make it higher and lower, so you could feel your character be even more unique, So that's a bit disappointing. You only get the one female and male choice, but that's okay. I still really like that we get a character that talks in cutscenes instead of the usual mute protagonist. So back again with Genshin. So if you are familiar with Genshin, you know that the basic formula is the very good combat, the elements, the beautiful landscapes that you can traverse in, and it's very much an exploration game. And it's exactly the same with Tower of Fantasy. In fact, you could, most of the activities so far, you can just play solo, which is great as somebody who usually plays MMOs solo. I know that's not, the recommended, but Tower Fantasy is very solo friendly, which is excellent. But of course, there are world bosses, and that's very fun. I teamed up a few times. You can just go on the spot there and fight a world boss without needing to be in the group, and you can still get the loot, which is also very cool if you don't want to bother with getting in a party. So that's great, and cool things like that. But yes, the similarities in the exploration with Genshin Impact, it's basically identical, with the difference that you get more points on the map where you can see in advance where you can go. And exploration actually plays an even bigger part if you want to get goodies. So basically, the very nice thing they have done is while you explore the map, you get drops of currency where you can use to get characters and weapons. So you can just find these, either rare ones or regular ones, while just exploring. And that is a very nice touch. I really appreciate it. I've been able to get dozens of free pools and free characters just from exploring, which is what I love doing anyway. So yes, as I mentioned, they know the formula works with Genshin Impact, which is why it's basically the same in Tower of Fantasy. So they haven't even really bothered to change a lot of things, and that's okay. It works. It is fun. However, a downside I found so far, this is just my initial impression. If I'm wrong, I would be glad to be wrong, okay? So the similarities is that they are so complacent in the Genshin formula that they are not really embracing the new setting they have created. So in this game, this is sort of a post-apocalyptic scenario. So you get really beautiful nature with broken down architecture and things like that, which is really nice. And if you know the game My Time at Portia and My Time at Sandrock, it really gave me the same impression of just, the beautiful maps mixed with broken down human structures. So that was really nice, and that's really cool to see it on the maps. However, for example, I've seen, like in the trailer, they were showing a broken down big city with skyscrapers and things like that. And I was thinking, oh, wouldn't that be amazing if you ended up in a big broken down city and could traverse there? And then eventually, in the main storyline, you drop in a city and you can see the flying cars in the distance. And I was so excited, and I was thinking, okay, so the first map was like the tutorial, and now we are going to the city. No, actually, the second map there is just a tiny hub. It teases the giant city in the distance. You cannot go anywhere. And then you end up going to the next real area, which is, like Genshin, the open landscapes with different colored grass, basically. So we have the same exact formula as Genshin, the initial, default landscape. Then we have the more tropical landscape. Then we have the winter landscape and all of that. So it's a bit too much of the same thing. They are not really embracing the setting. From what I've seen so far, I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope that there's actually big cities later on, or they add them, because that would be really, they would show that they're really using their creativity. And I would love that, instead of just using the exact same pattern of the Genshin areas and just adapting it in Tower of Fantasy with just, the scattered, broken down pieces of buildings and roads and stuff like that. So yeah, I would love to see that. So far, that was a bit disappointing because I was really hyped up from what I had seen with the cities and stuff, but what can you do? But the game is still very fun to explore, just like Genshin. It's just that I would love to see the creativity of, for example, one of the very later areas in Genshin with the completely water themed area, which just completely, changed the vegetation and things like that to something completely fantasy based. So I would love to see the equivalent of that in Tower of Fantasy. So that is a missed opportunity there. But yeah, the game so far has been very addicting, exactly like Genshin Impact. The story is pretty cool so far. I haven't gone much into it because I've basically just been exploring. I want to get every collectible I can, so things are a bit slower on my end. So I've also found the gacha system to be a lot friendlier. Of course, there are not that many characters so far, so it's not like we can really get our favorites so far and try to pull for characters over and over. But with the fact that you can find the currency just by traversing around, it's just it has felt very a lot easier. And also, so for example, in Genshin, I've just from playing, I've been able to get free pools. I've never spent money on Genshin, neither will I on Tower of Fantasy. But in Genshin, I've never been able to get to the guaranteed super duper rare drop with the free pools. However, in Tower of Fantasy, and I don't know if this is just because it's a brand new game, so they're trying to make it, very rewarding as an initial impression so far. But I've been able, just from the free stuff I've gotten from traversing, to reach the 80 pools until I could get a guaranteed super, super rare character. So far I've gotten three. I don't know how to call them: super, super rare, super duper rare, legendary, the rarest characters you can get. So yeah, it has felt very rewarding. The combat is very cool. It's the difference with Genshin is that you don't really mix elements this time. You pick elements to use, and there is now this. There is no synergy like before, and you don't just quickly switch characters for the right elements. So I wanted to add something here because now I've played a bit more of the game, and I've also had my friend sharing her experience with me about the game, some things that didn't come to my attention at the time. So basically, it's that while of course we know from Genshin the kind of gacha system they have, the type of things where you can buy certain unlocks and more vitality, here with it, because it's an MMO, it feels even more jarring, and so it feels like you're suddenly thrown into a mobile game. So one huge thing that surprised me, that my friend told me, is that she could not continue the story. She was just playing the story. I did not come across this blog because I was just exploring. I did not rush the story. But she said that the game told her that the next part of the story would unlock in 17 hours. So she had an artificial block that stopped her from actually viewing the rest of the story. So if somebody just wants to go through the story and not perhaps explore, they're out of luck. They are forced to stop. So that sucks. And also, what I've come across every day now that I've been playing is that I'm reaching the level cap. And what I mean by level cap is that each day the game only lets you advance a certain amount of levels. So a player that started one day before me, they will be able to have gotten a couple more levels more than me, and I'm stuck. And if I just keep getting XP on top of the cap, I just lose the XP, which is very unfortunate. And also, it's something that actually made me stop playing just now, because it was the final thing that made me want to add this to the video. The video was ready, but I just wanted to add this thing here, just to remind people that this game, it has a lot still, even though the character pulling characters is a lot friendlier, it still has a lot of things that seem to really, remind you that you're playing a mobile game that really wants to get money out of its players. And speaking of mobile gaming, another thing that is in this MMO that also feels very out of place for an MMO is that it also has a vitality that slowly fills up and runs out when you do certain activities, usually co-op stuff, that runs out super fast. And of course, the game allows you to purchase refills, which of course it's very, very expensive. So if you just wanted to do a bunch of co-op stuff, the co-op activities, which are a lot of fun, you would need to spend money, which of course for this type of game I don't recommend you start spending money, because that's how they get you. So yeah, I just wanted to add this in, and let's conclude the video now. But yeah, this has been my initial impression of Tower of Fantasy. To summarize, it's a lot of fun, very addicting, a bit too much like Genshin, but if you love Genshin, if you just wanted more of Genshin Impact, this is fantastic. It's also free, a lot more rewarding to just traverse around, and yeah, it looks very promising. And I'm looking forward to exploring even more and just seeing what the game has in store. So yes, this was my first impressions video. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to subscribe on my channel to be notified about future videos. Comment to help the channel, like, follow on Twitch if you want to catch me live, all that cool stuff. So yes, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.